This is going to be a tough conversation, guys, for real Cowboys fans. If you're a real Cowboy fan, you're going to want to stick for this podcast because this is probably the realest conversation that you're going to have about the Cowboys and what the future looks like.
I'm the bad guy. I'm the, I'm the, I'm the bad.
Welcome back to Across the Gridiron. I'm your host, Eddie, and today we are talking about something that's become an annual tradition, right? Why the Dallas Cowboys would never make another Super Bowl unless serious changes happen this offseason. Look, I know as Cowboys fans, we don't want to hear this, but it is true. But let's be real. This team has been stuck in the same cycle for over 3 decades. I'm talking about 3 decades. So let that just sink in. There's a reason why the Dallas Cowboys are not getting very far in the playoffs. No matter what the quarterback is, no matter what the players come and go. But it just seems like the Cowboys just have this glass ceiling. Good regular season check, playoff exit double check. But why? What's holding them back? And more importantly, what needs to change? So I'm going to be breaking it all down, my thoughts, my opinions, what I think the Dallas Cowboys need to do to kind of get over the hump. But I'm not, I'm just a guy who loves football. I'm not going to lay claim to being a Dallas Cowboys since I was born. As a matter of fact, I live here in the United Kingdom. And I only became a Cowboys fan, maybe in the last 15 years, right? So you can kind of, do the math and kind of see where I was when I became a Dallas Cowboys fan. But I had been a fan, watching the NFL kind of, every now and then, used to watch Super Bowl. And I've gone to incredible lengths, watch the NFL games and I rock the Cowboys gear. I love the Cowboys. I don't know how I managed to find myself rooting for a team like the Cowboys. And but I root for the Cowboys. I remember, back in the day, now the games are so accessible, especially in the UK. We can see a lot of the games now on Sky. Sky shows a lot of the games. Um, but I mean, I remember back then when the Super Bowl used to be maybe on ITV and BBC. That was the only NFL game that you were seeing. You don't really used to see regular games as much. And Sky didn't have license to do that. I know they've got a partnership with NBC and all of that. Used to go to incredible lengths just to watch the NFL game. You're just trying to watch the game until Game Pass and the NFL Game Pass came along, and that was like a godsend, for me, because now I could watch the game and still used to frustrate me the blackouts because there used to be games that were blacked out, and so I wouldn't be able to watch that. But I used to watch the game, and now, it's so accessible and you can almost watch a lot of the game, which is great. But yeah, so it's kind of like, my backstory, towards this game and why I love it so much. I watch an incredible amount of football. I don't just watch the Dallas Cowboys, I watch other teams. And you could check out my other videos, on this channel, where I normally do, a podcast with my good buddy Matt, and we talk about the NFL and I talk about the games. For someone who doesn't play the game, I think I have picked up a lot of knowledge, to be able to talk about the game and have, an opinion about the game. And this is what this is gonna be. It's gonna be my opinion. But you will see that it's an opinion that is it's not just based on just speaking at the top of my head, but it's really going to be grounded, at being a Dallas Cowboy fan, for a while. So I've made some notes and I'm gonna, talk through it. So just bear with me here, right? Okay. So let's start. Dallas Cowboys, what went wrong? Dallas, we were expecting to be a playoff team. I don't think that any Dallas Cowboys fan, especially in the last 3 seasons where we've finished the season 12-5, would have gone into the 2024 season expecting anything less than a playoff appearance. I think that was fair. I don't think that was arrogant. I think that was a reflection of, excuse me, what the Cowboys have been playing for a while. But that dream ended the moment Dak Prescott went down into a season-ending injury. I mean, listen, Cooper Rush, sorry, just telling you where my mind is. I do need him. If he can come over to Dallas, that would be amazing. But Cooper Rush, he did what he could, but the offense was predictable. And the defense, despite having lots of talent, was gassed from carrying the team. He could only carry the team for so much. Then we started having injuries to key players. DeMarco Lawrence went down, Michael Parsons went down. And we didn't have the run Bland, for most of the season, as well. And then Trevor Diggs, he also went down as well. Trevon Diggs also went down. So it was just, and let's not forget how the Cowboys performed in the NFC East. The Eagles basically ran away with that division. Washington have found a spark with Jayden Daniels. More on that. And the Giants, even despite their struggles, they were still a formidable team, to deal with. And when the dust settled, guys, there's no playoffs, another disappointing year, and a coaching change. That feels more like a reshuffle than a rebuild. I know lots of guys are, offering their opinion about what they think that Schottenheimer is going to do. But let's go into that. Let's talk about that. Because McCarthy out, Schottenheimer in. What changes? I mean, the Cowboys ownership made a move, right? So you can kind of say, well, kind of. Did they really make a move? Mike McCarthy was fired, and instead of bringing in fresh leadership, what did the Cowboys do? They promoted Scott Schottenheimer. Now I get it. Continuity matters. And then you hear a lot about that, continuity. Dak Prescott came out, endorsed it, felt like a political thing, I endorsed this candidate. But let's be honest, is he really the guy that is going to take them to the next level? You got to ask that question, right? And I don't think it's a sign of disrespect, to what he's done to ask that question, especially where the Cowboys, are coming from. For me, it feels like the Cowboys are too comfortable. They really are. They didn't shake up the culture. Alexa Sanders would have come in, and shaken up the culture, that's for sure. They just move pieces around, right? Compare that to the Eagles, right? Who aggressively they revamp their coaching staff and roster every offseason to stay ahead. Dallas, what they do, we just double down. We double down on what already, wasn't working. And it is incredibly frustrating, as a Dallas, Cowboy fan. Now, Jerry Jones said he was all in before the start of the offseason. This was before Dak Prescott got his contract. He was all in, but let me beg to, take a viewpoint about that. He's a billionaire, so hey, don't have that many zeros in my bank account, but be that as it may, if we want to see the difference, right, between an elite organization and Dallas, you only need to look at your division rivals, the Philadelphia Eagles, right? The Eagles go all in. That is all in, right? What the Eagles do is all in. They find ways to improve their roster. They'll take big swings in the free agency, and the draft. Look at the last couple of years, trading for AJ Brown, drafting Jalen Carter and Devonta Smith, constantly upgrading their O line and their D line. I mean, this used to be the thing of the Cowboys, right? We used to have, a dominant, O line. Um, when Dak Prescott, came into the league, we have, Fredericks, we had, a Tyler Smith, and Zach Martin. These are guys that are going to go into the Hall of Fame. A lot of people who know the game, talk about that. But we've done nothings really since then. We really haven't. Dallas, on the other hand, we've paid Dak, paid CD Lamb big money, which is fine. And for those who go back and watch my channel, you probably see that, I do like Dak. I do love Dak, but I'm gonna say some stuff, today, and it's gonna come from a place of, someone who's talking about a guy, that he actually loves, and I think that he's had a very raw deal in Dallas. But I'm not gonna jump that. What's the plan to build a complete playoff roster? What's the plan? Because I don't see it. Because right now, this is a top-heavy team that collapses the moment things don't go perfect. I think it's fair to say about that. Um, let's talk about the other thing, going on in the division, right? Because this is where things really get tricky for the Dallas Cowboys. Washington, a team that has been stuck in mediocrity for years. Everyone thought, RG3 coming in was going to be the thing, and they've gone from one quarterback to the other. I don't even want to list all the quarterbacks. That's not the point of this. But they finally found a quarterback. I have to say this. They finally found one. Jayden Daniel had an impressive rookie season. This dude took the Commanders all the way to the championship game. I think even when you look at Dak Prescott's impressive rookie season, where they went 13-3, and then I think he threw for 21 touchdowns and I think maybe four interceptions, something like that. Even that got stopped, in Green Bay, because we lost that game. The Aaron Rodgers constantly used to slice the Dallas Cowboys every time. But he's been impressive. Dak Prescott wasn't that impressive. He was at the time, don't get me wrong. But I mean, you now see Jayden Daniels, and then you look back and you say, okay, what are we talking about here? They're going to aggressively add talent. I think with the new ownership and everything that's going on, you would expect that they're going to add, to the talent that they have. That means that they're no longer an automatic win for the Cowboys. Kind of see where I'm going with this. The Cowboys to be looking to get out of the division. That's usually the roadmap. You beat the teams in your division. Because let's be honest, Dallas Cowboys never really, really used to dominate, other divisions. But in the NFC East, we dominate. Even including the Eagles, even when they're having good seasons. Um, so now the Dallas Cowboys are not just looking up at Philly. They have to worry about Washington, too. If that if that doesn't adjust their mindset, I'm talking about the Cowboys home office. I don't know what is because we're gonna fall behind in our own division, and people are already talking about is Dallas the third best team in the NFC is. That's how bad it's gone. Now, I talked about earlier on, and I kind of talked about Dak Prescott. And I said, this is a player that I actually love. Guys, you need to watch my videos. Check out my videos. I am a Dak Prescott lover, but I have been in a position, for my career. I've led big teams. I've been part of a C-suite, and I have spotted talent, recruited talent. I've let go of people. So I understand what it is when you're letting go of someone who you actually love. So let's talk about the biggest decision of the Cowboys offseason. They gave him a long-term extension, which means they are all in on Dak Prescott. But here's my question. What is the evidence that we have as Cowboys fan that Dak Prescott can lead us to the Super Bowl? What is the evidence that we have as Cowboys fan that Dak Prescott would lead us to the Super Bowl? I don't know. 8 years in, the resume is clear. Dude was an all-pro, second behind the MVP 2 seasons ago. He can win in the regular season. There is no question about that. And honestly, that conversation used to frustrate me no end. because he didn't get a lot of grace for doing that. While other quarterbacks do, Lamar Jackson and all of that, they get grace for winning in the regular season and putting up gaudy numbers. And I still maintain that 2 seasons ago, Dak Prescott was the MVP of the regular season. I don't think there is another player when it comes to the regular season that is probably better than Dak Prescott. I'm sure guys would throw on some guys, but I don't think I would say he's probably in the top five in terms of regular season performance. So I still feel bitter that that MVP was stolen. I think he was stolen by Dak Prescott just because people couldn't get past the fact that he didn't do it in the postseason. Um, for me, at this point, the Dallas Cowboys are like the Alex Smith purgatory. You're gonna ask, what do I mean by that? Remember the Kansas City Chiefs? They used to be a decent team. They will make the playoffs, but they could never get over the hump until a certain Patrick Mahomes stepped in. They finally broke through, but it took them making some very, very strong decisions, right? They drafted Patrick Mahomes, and everyone thought, hey, you've got Alex Smith. Why are you drafting Patrick Mahomes? And that's why, for me, I would say, despite the fact that we paid Dak Prescott, I think we should draft a quarterback in the draft. I honestly do. I think that for me, it's sound preparation, it's sound planning. Listen, Cooper Rush is not going to do it. Let's be honest. And Trey Lance, I think they're going to have to trade him because I don't know if they want to pay him the amount of money that his talent supposedly would command, knowing that he will never touch the field. I think it'll be a smart thing to draft a quarterback in this offseason. Um, Now I know there are lots of people talking about Shador um, potentially being that player. I don't know. I don't watch enough college games, to have an informed opinion. I only start to look at the decent college players really just before we get into the preseason. And I might start to look a little bit earlier and look at what other guys have said about the players and start to form my own opinion based on what I think. But hey, I just think that, Cowboys have chosen stability with Dak Prescott instead of taking the leap. That's exactly what they've done. The Cowboys have doubled down on a quarterback with a ceiling. And it hurts me to say this. It pains me to say this because, guys, I love Dak Prescott. I really do. I love his story. I love him. When people used to talk about, he's not good, he's not all of that, I used to stick over Dak Prescott. But I have to admit that after 8 years, I feel like he's got a ceiling, especially in that organization. Is he really good enough to take a flawed roster to the Super Bowl? Because people could argue that the Kansas City Chiefs have a flawed roster. They had lots of injuries this season. They still lost one game with Patrick Mahomes. The Broncos game, he didn't really play. Um, so I don't really hold that. But on the eve of a Super Bowl, which is when I'm doing this recording, the Saturday before the Super Bowl. It made me think a lot about the Dallas Cowboys, which is why I decided to do this video. This is why I decided to do this video because I started to think about the Kansas City Chiefs and what could be for the Dallas Cowboys. And I think a lot of Cowboys fans, resonate with this. And if you're a Cowboys fan, you definitely want to watch this video because I think that it gives us a good reflection of where this team has been, where it potentially could be, and what's really holding the team back, right? So, guys, one needs to change, right? These are only my thoughts. I'm a fan. There's lots of people who are um, more knowledgeable about the game, probably played the game while they were young. I mean, growing up, I played football, but not American football, just what you guys call soccer in the US here. And I wasn't that much of a war beater, but I do understand the game. I do understand patterns. So, how does Dallas break the cycle? And here's the reality: the window is closing. It's really closing fast. We're already talking about Jayden Daniel, what's happening at the Commanders, but also I see what's happening with Philly. Philly have been to two Super Bowls in the last 3 years, which is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. As much as I've got my view about Jalen Hurts and what I think about how good he is, and it's all also an opinion, but he's gotten his team to the Super Bowl. Can't argue with that. Can't argue with that. Um, so here's what they need to change. They need to be more aggressive in the free agency. You can't keep making safe moves, waiting until all the good players have gone. If anything, this offseason showed you, teams that were aggressive, Eagles going for Saquon Barkley, the Ravens going for Derrick Henry. It just shows you Joe Mixon going to the Cincinnati Bengals. It just shows you that if you make the right moves in free agency, it can aid your team, not hamper your team. I think the Cowboys always feel that if they do stuff in free agency, it's going to hurt them. And I think everybody always talks about Brandon Carr, who the Dallas Cowboys paid a lot of money and was no good. Um, but I don't think that's a problem with free agency. I think that's just a cowboy problem, right? You made the wrong decision. It's like you going into a store and then you pick up something. You pick up a particular type of toy or something like that. And then, but there were other toys there, and there were toys that had different, prices. And then you picked on one, and then you now paid over the top for it. And then you got home, and the toy didn't really work well. And then you were like, I'm never gonna go to that store anymore. And for me, I don't think the problem is free agency. I think the problem is what we do with the players that we actually go out. I mean, do we go in with the kind of leverage, that we're supposed to go in? I remember this Seahawks player who really wanted to come to the Dallas Cowboys. His name has skipped me now. He was part of that Legion of Doom back for the Seahawks. And I remember him running into the tunnel, putting his hand over Jason Garrett and saying, "Come and get me." Everyone remembers that. I've forgotten his name now. Um, but the Cowboys just did about the bush, didn't do anything. And we could have done something with him coming into that squad. But for me, Schottenheimer has to modernize the offense. Second thing for me. If this looks the same system, Dallas will waste another year. If it does, looks predictable. We're not great on runs. The pass game looks seedy or nothing. Then we're gonna waste another year. We might as well just kind of limping through the season, knowing what the end is gonna be from the beginning. So that's number two. And number three is Dak Prescott needs to elevate this team. He needs to prove that he can elevate the team. No more good enough seasons. No. This has to be the year that he takes the leap. I want to hope that he's matured now. He's seen what it can look like. Year after year, we talk about getting to the dance, and every single year is the same outcome. Can we change this? Apologies, guys. I know this has been a long video. Didn't expect it to be this long. But, I just wanted to just talk about it because the Super Bowl is tomorrow. I'm going to be watching the Super Bowl. No doubt I'll be rooting against the Eagles because I just can't stand the fact that they might win another Super Bowl and Dallas Cowboys have not come any close. But it does make me, as a Dallas Cowboy fan, really, really reflect on what could have been. What could have been. Well, that's it for today, guys. Cowboy fan. I know this is a tough conversation, but every now and then we need to have a tough conversation like this. Let's be real. Do you really believe this team is built to win the Super Bowl? I'm gonna leave that question with you. Put it in the comment, section as well. Let me know your thoughts. If Dallas have paid Dak, should they have looked at a future without him? Have we got the right coach? This or was this just another safe hire? Hit me up across the gridiron on X, on YouTube. Listen, we'll be back with more off seasons breakdowns, including one next for the NFC East and a full draft preview as well. My buddy Matt, we're gonna come in here. We're gonna, talk about lots of things. We're gonna go back and look at all the different teams in the different divisions and maybe look at what went well, what went wrong for those teams. Um, and remember, guys, whatever the case may be, we want our team to be successful. So, guys, you know what to do. Hit that like and subscribe button. Smash a like for us as well. And let me know, what you think and share this video with all true Cowboys fans, out there because I think this is a real conversation that we need to have. I'll see you next time.
I'm the bad guy. I'm the